They do not melt down first. They disappear first. You are holding your baby in a bright room. Someone leans in too quickly. The noise rises. A face gets too close. And all at once, your baby turns inward and buries their face deep into your shoulder. Not a glance away. Not a shy little nuzzle. A full press inward. As if your shoulder just became the only usable place left in the building. It can look clingy. It can look sleepy. It can look like simple shyness. That sounds reasonable, but it is too small for what is actually happening. Because when an 8 to 10-month-old hides their face in your shoulder, when tired, overwhelmed, or unsure, you are often not watching social awkwardness at all. You are watching a nervous system shut one door so it can keep another one open. The room stays. Your baby changes the doorway. That is why the moment feels so specific. They do not ask to leave the room completely. They do not usually fling themselves backward to get away from you. They do something much smarter than that. They cut off the part of the world that has become too expensive, while keeping the part that still helps. The eyes disappear. The stranger disappears. The bright movement disappears. But your warmth stays. Your smell stays. Your breathing stays. Your body stays. Adults often call that clinginess because clinginess is the easiest story. But the deeper story is about input, not manners. They are not turning away from people. They are turning down the volume. By 8 to 10 months, babies are living in a much heavier world than they were earlier in the year. Their memory is stronger. Their expectations are stronger. Stranger wariness may be rising. Social referencing is beginning to appear. They notice more, compare more, and hold on to unfamiliarity more sharply. That means the world has become richer. It also means the world has become more demanding. A new face is no longer just a face. A crowded room is no longer just background. A loud laugh, a fast approach, a bright store aisle, a family gathering at the end of a long day. Those things can all land as too much, too fast, too close. More awareness can mean less margin. This is the part most parents never hear. When a baby presses their face into your shoulder, they are not necessarily trying to escape all contact. They are often doing something more selective than that. Think about what disappears. The second the face goes in, eye contact stops, visual motion drops, bright detail drops, social pressure drops. The baby no longer has to keep scanning the room for what is coming next. But what remains is just as important. Your shoulder still gives steady pressure across the face and forehead. Your shirt still smells like you. Your body still moves in a predictable rhythm. Your breathing still rises and falls under their cheek. The baby has not chosen nothing. The baby has chosen a smaller world, less world, more regulator. Attachment research gives this moment a very different meaning. In the work that shaped secure base theory, babies in the second half of the first year did not use caregivers as simple parking spots. Adults might expect security to look like either total independence or total dependency. What observers actually saw was a rhythm: move out, get uncertain, return, settle, then try again. The caregiver was not only a place to cling, the caregiver was the place from which the baby could reduce uncertainty enough to keep engaging with the world. Security is not the opposite of exploration. It is what makes exploration survivable. That matters here, because shoulder bearing often happens in the exact kinds of moments when the world becomes too socially or sensorially dense. Someone unfamiliar gets close. Too many people are looking. The room is noisy. The baby is already tired. Adults may expect the response to be straightforward. Cry, reach, protest, fall apart. But careful observation of infants in overwhelming settings shows something more strategic. Before full crying, babies often try to manage the load. They look away. They turn the head. They narrow what they are taking in. And when that is not enough, they use the caregiver's body itself to occlude the room. The inward turn is not the aftermath of regulation failing. It is often the attempt to keep regulation from failing worse. That is why the shoulder matters so much. A blanket can block light. A dark room can lower stimulation. But a shoulder does something more sophisticated. It blocks the overload and replaces it with a signal. The nervous system already knows how to use. Pressing the face into a familiar adult does not just create darkness. It creates familiar darkness. The smell is known. The pressure is steady. The body underneath is alive and predictable. In a world that suddenly feels uncertain, the shoulder becomes a sensory filter with a heartbeat behind it. Your body becomes a controlled environment. And the body-level mechanics here are not imaginary. When a baby presses their forehead and cheeks into a firm shoulder, visual input drops instantly. That alone can lower the amount of processing the baby has to do. At the same time, the face gets a steady pressure, which many babies find organizing. When arousal is climbing, the shoulder also stabilizes the head. That matters more than adults realize. A stabilized head, a blocked line of sight, a familiar smell, and the repetitive lift and fall of a caregiver's breathing can give the nervous system something much simpler to ride than the chaos of the room. Pressure can make the world feel less scattered. Researchers who studied how infants respond to uncertain situations found another important piece. Adults might expect babies to read the room independently once they are closer to the end of the first year. But in classic social referencing work, infants encountering something ambiguous often did not just react to the object itself. They checked the caregiver. They borrowed the caregiver's face and tone to decide what the situation meant. That finding changed how people thought about independence in infancy. Babies this age are not simply building a relationship with the world. They are building a relationship with the world through someone. Before they can fully read the room, they read the room through you. Now bring that back to the baby, hiding in your shoulder. If the room is too much, the shoulder berry can be the fastest way to return to the one signal that still makes sense. The baby does not have to interpret the stranger, the room, the light, the sound, and the social demand all at once. For a moment, the baby gets to interpret just you. Your body says the same thing over and over. Same smell, same warmth, same pressure, same breathing, same person. That repetition is not sentimental. It is computationally easier. It reduces the amount of work the nervous system has to do right when the system is closest to overload. The shoulder is not where the baby gives up. It is where the world becomes processable again. That is also why trying to turn the baby back outward too quickly often backfires. Adults do it with good intentions. They lift the head, reintroduce the room, say hello for the baby, joke about them being shy, try to prove there is nothing to worry about. But if the bearing is already doing real regulatory work, interrupting it too soon simply returns the nervous system to the load it was still trying to cut down. The baby is not refusing to be brave. The baby is trying to get regulated enough to rejoin. Sometimes the fastest path back to the world is a short retreat into safety. This is where the parent's role becomes much bigger than holding the baby while they calm down. In that moment, you are not just offering affection, you are providing structure. Your shoulder blocks the room. Your body supplies pressure. Your familiar scent narrows uncertainty. Your steadiness keeps the baby from having to keep solving everything at once. You are not only comforting the emotion, you are changing the environment from the inside out. You are not just soothing them, you are helping the world become bearable again. And that is why the behavior is more impressive than it looks. A baby between 8 and 10 months is no longer only at the mercy of the room. The baby is beginning to participate in regulation by changing which part of the room gets in. That is a major developmental step, not with words, not with strategy in the adult sense, but with action. That has a clear purpose. Too much face, too much room, too much uncertainty, more shoulder, more pressure, more familiar rhythm. The body cannot redesign the party, the store, or the family gathering, but it can redesign its access point to them. That is agency in a form babies can actually use. On its own, burying the face into a caregiver's shoulder, when tired, overwhelmed, or unsure, does not usually mean something is wrong. Many babies this age use a familiar adult's body to reduce overload, especially in new, crowded, or high stimulation settings. Every child develops on their own timeline. But if a baby almost never looks outward, seems persistently distressed in ordinary environments, rarely uses the caregiver as a base to return from, or shows broader concerns around responsiveness and engagement, it may be worth raising with a pediatric professional, not because one buried face is alarming, but because repeated patterns matter more than isolated moments. The deeper truth here is bigger than shyness. A baby between 8 and 10 months is not only learning who feels safe, they are learning what safety does. Safety reduces the amount of world they have to process without severing connection. Safety lets them lower the load without being alone in it. Safety becomes something physical, a shoulder, a posture, a darkness, a rhythm, a person. So the next time your baby turns inward and presses their face deep into your shoulder, instead of looking out, do not read the old story too quickly. Do not assume they are just being clingy. Watch what the body is actually accomplishing. Watch how much of the room disappears and how much of you remains. This is not a strange little habit. This is development happening in real time. They are not just hiding. They are learning how to use a trusted person to turn the world down without turning connection off. And then, when their system is ready, find their way back out.